what's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we're taking a look at the brand new Super7 Toxic Crusaders Toxie. And I'm excited about this figure for a couple of different reasons. First off, this is the first Super7 figure that I've ever purchased. I've never handled any of their figures. I don't know anything about them, so that's very exciting. I really have to look into what they have going on because it looks like they make some pretty cool stuff. It seems like they do a lot of retro throwback kind of things, like this, the Ninja Turtles, those little reaction figures, all kinds of things of that nature. So they do look interesting, but nothing has made me want to pull the trigger on any of their products until I saw this guy. So even the Ninja Turtle stuff, they look great, but I think that NECA's already holding it down for Ninja Turtles, so I didn't really need to jump on those. But Toxic Crusaders, no one else is doing this. The other reason I'm kind of pumped up about this is because I used to love Toxic Crusaders when I was a kid, and to be honest with you, I don't recall any of the details about it. Like, I can't remember the cartoon. All I remember is having a bunch of the action figures, and I really like them. And if you're not familiar with Toxic Crusaders, it's a cartoon based on an old movie called Toxic Avenger, which was not for kids. It was super gory. I was watching some clips of it on YouTube, and it's insanity. So it's funny that they took that and made it into a kid's show, probably because of Ninja Turtles, you know. But anyways, I'm excited about this, so here we are. Let's go ahead and get into it, starting with the packaging. I do like this lime green packaging that he comes with. We have some artwork right here that makes it look like slime. Down here it says Super7. Right here we have the Toxic Crusaders logo, and that all looks really good. And then moving around to the back, there's nothing going on, but it does say Super7 here at the bottom. And this is like a slip cover that comes right off. We'll set that off to the side here. And then on the back, it says, Toxic Crusaders, warning, this package contains Toxie, the likable, lumpy-headed hero. That's pretty cool. And then now coming around to the front of the box, we get a look at the figure itself. It looks really nice in there with all of his accessories. It really has an old school kind of vibe to it. So I think this is really dope. Right here it says Toxie. Up here it says Toxic Crusaders. And it does look like it's collector friendly, so I think I'll be able to put them back in the packaging afterwards if I want. But yeah, the packaging does look really cool on this figure. It would be nice to have an extra to maybe keep in the package, but these figures are kind of expensive now. Luckily, my boy Artwitz Toys was able to find this for around retail price, and he hooked me up with it. So huge thank you to you, Rick. I always appreciate you looking out for me. But let's go ahead and rip this figure out of the packaging and take a look. Okay, so here we have Toxie right out of the box, and I went ahead and put on a bunch of his attachments so we could get the full effect of the figure. And I think this guy looks really good. And after doing some research, I realized that this figure isn't really based on the way that Toxie looked in the animated series. It's based on the main Toxic Crusader figure that came out back in the day. And in that regard, they did an incredible job because this figure looks exactly like that damn figure that I had when I was a kid. So I really like it. He doesn't have a whole bunch of articulation, but I was kind of expecting that because this body looks very familiar, and I assumed that it was sculpted by the Four Horsemen, and then I went ahead and asked Toy Bro because I know that he collects more of these than I do. He's more familiar with Super7, and he said that yes, Four Horsemen did sculpt this figure, and they also sculpted some other figures that Super7 has released recently. And I wasn't always the biggest fan of this instantly recognizable Four Horsemen sculpt, but I think for Toxie, it works very well, and for some other figures. Like, I like it for Superman and some other, you know, characters like that. But for Toxie, I think it works very well, and I really like the way that he looks. So check him out. He's got his little canisters here on his bandolier. He's got the shield that says Toxic Crusader, just like the old school figure. You got like that advertisement on the actual toy itself. That's funny. And then we have his mop. The mop is a little heavy, and it looks like, you know, his arm kind of has some trouble holding it. The arm really didn't feel loose until I put the mop in the hand, but yeah, this thing is kind of heavy. And then even when you, let's go ahead and move the flag for a second. Even when you put it in the back here, it kind of brings the figure, it has him leaning back, you know. But yeah, so the mop is a little heavy, but still, that's, you know, not a big deal at all. But yeah, I do love the way the figure looks. You're able to put his little buddy Blobby up here. But yeah, this is cool. But let's go ahead and get in close and take a look at the details on the sculpt. And taking a closer look at the figure, starting out with the head, I think this is a very nice looking head sculpt. I like how we have the eye popping out, and then his deformed nose, and then his crazy looking smile, I guess you could call it. It all looks kind of crazy, and it like perfectly represents that old school Swamp Thing action figure. So that is super dope. And then we have some bumps on the back of the head that look cool. And I like how there's not line work or anything like that. It's just very plain and bright colors, and it just looks like a, you know, it looks like a perfect copy of that old Swamp Thing figure. But oh damn it, I keep calling him Swamp Thing because like it reminds me, this figure reminds me of that old Swamp Thing TV show. And like I keep walking around my house with this figure going, swamp 'em Swampy, just like they said in that old Swamp Thing animated series that I recently checked out along with Robo. And this figure just makes me think of that, because I know that like that old Swamp Thing series was like inspired, or it took some, like, I don't know, it felt very similar to Toxic Crusaders. And when I was watching the Toxic Crusaders animated series, I kept thinking of the Swamp Thing show. So yeah, I keep calling this damn figure Swamp Thing. Anyways, sorry for the the tangent there, but yeah. Toxie, it really reminds me of that old Toxie figure back in the day. But yeah, it looks great. I just love the bright colors and cartoonish look to it. And then moving down to the body here, you can see we have some bumps on the shoulders. And, you know, when you see these Four Horsemen bodies, they're like instantly recognizable. You could tell exactly what they are and who made them. And when they add like some differences and different like details on there, it really makes the figures feel a little bit more unique. And then he does have the tank top, which I imagine was originally like a shirt, but it just ripped when he fell into the canister of radioactive waste or whatever. Speaking of canisters, we have these little canisters on his belt harness. Little canisters look very cool, and I like how they don't have a whole lot of detail, and they look very plastic looking, just like the old school toy. But one thing I dislike about them is that it's very hard to get them to stay onto the strap here. I mean, they kind of just clip over, but they come off really easy, so that's kind of frustrating. But let's go ahead and take that off, because I really like the way he looks without this thing. I'm sure I'll display it with it on, but when I mess with the figure, I might want to take it off because I think he looks cool without it, so that's cool. And then moving down here, we do have the tutu, and it's a floating piece, but it stays in place very well, so that's dope. It's pretty much just black. There's no paint detail on it or anything like that. And I don't think that the original figure had the tutu on it. I'm sure at some point they released a figure that had, you know, a tutu, because that's like kind of his look and it was kind of funny, but I don't think the figure that this is based on had the tutu, so that's interesting. But it does look cool. I'm happy they included it here. And then you can see that his shirt is kind of ripped. Then we have some black pants that are sculpted that look nice. Some more bumps down here that are all sculpted, and they all look really good. And then moving down to the boots here, these look nice. You can see that like they're kind of wrapped right here, maybe from falling apart, because as you can see, they're like ripping apart. On this side, you have like his toe ooze coming out. But yeah, it looks good. And aside from the accessories that I already had on the figure, the only other thing that he comes with is an alternate head, which is basically the same head sculpt but without a bandana. And I think this is cool. I actually like it a little bit better without the bandana. Another cool little feature this figure has is that he actually has a glow-in-the-dark eye. And this works on both of the heads, but the eye that's kind of popping out more glows in the dark. And if you put it next to a lamp for a while, it actually gets pretty bright once you turn the lights off. So, you know, that's a cool little gimmick that the old figure used to have that carried over to this one. So I could appreciate that for sure. But let's go ahead and take a closer look at the details on the accessories, starting off with the shield. As you can see, it does say Toxic Crusaders, and it has like a bubbly kind of look to it, like a bubbling acid kind of deal. On the back, we have like a pipe, so that's cool. And he is able to hold this, or you could put it in the back of the little strap thing, so that's really cool. And then here's a closer look at the canisters. And as I said, I really like how these don't have any paint details or anything. And there are little notches in the strap so that you could fit the canisters in there, but still, once you like try to put it on the figure, these things fall out really easy. But still, I do like them, and they do look very accurate to the source material. And then here's a closer look at the mop, and just like the rest of the figure, there's not a whole lot of paint on there, but that does look cool. And again, it looks exactly how it did back in the day, so that's awesome. And then the American flag is able to like clip onto here, so that's cool too. And you can see that it's sculpted very well. Like if they wanted to put some paint detail in there, it would have looked realistic. The sculpt work looks realistic. It's just the paint detail has that old school plastic feel to it. So I think that's dope. And then here's a closer look at Toxie's partner, Blobby. And this is pretty cool. It's kind of hard to see any details because of the color, but it's definitely sculpted very well. And it looks good. You could see that his eyes are painted, and so are his teeth, and that all looks really nice. And he does have a hole at the bottom, so you could stick it right onto Toxie's strap that he has here. And it doesn't it sits on there tight. You don't have to worry about it falling off or anything like that. So that works out pretty well. And then now for some quick size comparisons, we have Toxie alongside the Hasbro Lightning Collection Green Ranger and the SH Figure Arts Raphael. Here we have him alongside a couple of other figures that remind me of my childhood, and this would be the Marvel Legends Warpath and Marvel Legends Maverick. Here we have him alongside the Black Series Boba Fett and the G.I. Joe Classified Duke. And in case he needs some allies in the war against pollution, here we have Toxie alongside the DC Classic Swamp Thing and the Hasbro Marvel Legends Man-Thing Build-A-Figure. And then last but not least, we have Toxie alongside the Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man and Marvel Legends Bucky Cap. And for the articulation, to be honest with you, there's really not a whole lot going on, but I knew that going in because I'm pretty familiar with the 4 Horsemen articulation setup that they use on this body style. So I knew exactly what it was, and I'm fine with it. Of course, more articulation would have been cool, but as it is, I'm happy with the way this figure moves, and he can't get in the most dynamic poses ever, but he could do enough, so I'm okay with it. But let's go ahead and get into it. First off, his head does move side to side. It's got a little bit of tilt, but not a whole lot. And he can look up to about right there, which is not very high at all, but he could look down to right there. And then for the torso area, he does have just a standard ab crunch that really doesn't get that much bend. It only goes forward to right there, but it's cool because you could kind of make him look like he's hunched over, so I do like that. And then you could go back to about right there. So that's cool. Then he does have a waist swivel. He does have ball jointed shoulders that do go all the way around. They come out to the side, but only to about right there. So not a whole lot, but still, you know, it's fine. And then we have upper bicep swivel, single jointed elbows, and they get about 90. And then we have a swivel at the wrist and a hinge at the wrist. And then for the legs, so it's been a while since I've handled a 4 Horsemen sculpted figure. I remember the DC Universe Classic figures had weird hips, kind of like what Diamond Select is doing these days sometimes. But here it looks like they have like ball joints of some sort. But anyways, his legs could come out to the side to about right there. They can go forward. They can only go forward to about right there unless you twist it and then you get a little bit more up. So not very much at all, but it's because the way that the upper thigh is sculpted, as you can see, it kind of comes up right there. So it blocks the articulation just a little bit. And then he goes back to about right there. He has upper thigh swivel, single jointed knee, which gets less than 90. And then he has a lower leg swivel, and then the foot could go up and down. It could come forward to about right there. It could come up to right there. And oh, he does have rocking ankles. Cool. I wasn't sure if he did. I thought he did not. So there's a couple of things here that are a little bit different from the standard 4 Horsemen body that they used to use on the DC Universe stuff. Like the hinged hands. I don't think that those figures had that. The ball jointed hips, as I recall, those figures did not include that. Lower leg swivel and rocking ankles. Those are both points of articulation that I don't remember from those old figures. So it seems like they just kind of added little things here and there as time went on. But yeah, like I said, I knew what I was getting into as far as articulation goes with this figure, so I'm fine with it. One day it'd be cool to see somebody give us a fully articulated Toxie figure, but for now, I'm happy with the way this moves. And, you know, honestly, this body style works so well with this style of figure and this character that I'm okay with the sacrifices made to the articulation. At least I could get him into some poses. So, you know, I'm happy with it. Alright guys, so overall, even though I do feel like the articulation on this body is a little outdated, I still really like this figure. And to be honest with you, this body style works perfectly fine for like a retro type of thing. So it doesn't need to be the most articulated action figures out there. I think this does its job perfectly well. It's a very good recreation of this old classic Toxic Crusader figure that I grew up on, and it just feels real good to have this character to put into my modern display because I used to really like those Toxic Crusader figures when I was young, and I'd really like to see Super7 do more characters from this universe. I can't remember any of the names, but there was a werewolf guy, I'd be down for him. There was another dude that had like a half monster, half like surfer guy kind of vibe going. He had 2 heads. I'd be down for that too. All those characters would be really cool in this style, and just any old cartoons would be fun to see like this, like something like Biker Mice from Mars or Street Sharks or any of those weird, obscure Ninja Turtle knockoffs. I'd be down for all of them. But yeah, I think Super7 did a great job with this. So I'm really happy that I was able to get my hands on this. So once again, huge thank you to my boy Artwits Toys on Instagram. Be sure to check him out. He's an awesome action figure photographer and he's a good dude. So thank you so much. But yeah, this figure is awesome, and I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for other things that Super7 has going on. One thing that they're doing that look good, but I'm not really interested in, is the Ninja Turtle stuff. They look great. They look just like the old school toys, but I just don't feel like there's enough there for me to want to jump into those because NECA's already killing it, right? Like, I get all my Ninja Turtle needs filled with NECA, so I don't know if I need to jump into those Super7 turtles. I kind of want to get one just to check it out. Maybe I'll grab Raph or something like that. We'll have to see. But yeah, Super7's killing it, and hopefully they just continue down this road of doing these weird 90s cartoons in this weird retro style. I'd be so down for that. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And thank you very much. Peace.